Hello friends, this is Dr. Umesh Arya, Faculty of Media Studies. This tutorial focuses on the research and its very important aspect. Friends, you must have noticed that India's share of publications in the international journal is not that much impressive despite our good quality research, simply for the reason that our research publications are not properly formatted according to the international journals accepted standards. For examples, we have very good research efforts from Indian students, but they are not recognized worldwide due to a very important factor which is lacking among the research publications, that is the formatting. We have all the good stuff in the research, but that is not properly put to a nice format or the shape, and that's why it is turned away by the international research journals. So friends, we have this research format as far as the social sciences are concerned. This format is 90% applicable to all the disciplines with some minor changes as per the field's requirement. First of all, there should be a title. We all know the title, it's very simple, but I would like to draw your attention to the process of titling. Like, the title has to be a creative sentence kind of thing, and it should be having something in it which describes the whole research publication in a single snapshot. So try to make your title as creative as you can. There can be questions mark in it, it can be in the interrogative, or you can use some portmanteau, that is hybrid words. When you make two words, then you can also use them. So the idea is to use most creative sentences in the title. It is said in the newspaper that the headlines are very costly to written and very dangerous to publish. So simply the same is the case with the headlines of the research publication. It is the face of your research paper, and around 20-30% of the impression about the research is made through this title. Underneath you can include your name and the affiliations, but these names and affiliations would be put to a particular place by the research publication, but nevertheless you can put them here. So titling is done and your affiliation or the name is done. Next comes the abstract part. Abstract is written once the whole research publication is prepared, and it contains the meat or the gist of the research publication in 150 or 250 words, as the case may be. The different publications, they require different word limit. So if you come to this research publication, this is the abstract part, and see, it is left justified, the right one is not justified. So it is the journal style. So abstract is there. Abstract is also very important because all the publications or the conferences need your abstract first, and then they ask for the full papers. Then comes the keywords. Keywords or the tags, both are the same thing. Keywords are a set of 5-6 main topical words which describe your whole publication. For example, the keyword of this publication may be the content analysis, states and coverage, news coverage, and all the indices developed like LAI, VAI, SLAI, etc. You have to find your own keywords. Please be careful while mentioning the keywords, because these keywords would be searchable by the search engines, and based upon that your paper would be selected by the search engines. So the keywords are very important. Then you write the introduction. Introduction is like following the funnel approach. As the funnel is very narrow at the beginning, but it gradually expands, so you have to first start from some basic sentences and then you have to expand upon the topic. This is the introduction. It should not be more than 500 words or 550 words at best. The funnel approach should be followed in writing the introduction part. Then comes your literature review. As you know, literature review is the review of the material which has already been published on the given area of your research, so that you can come to a broad understanding about your topic and you don't select the objectives which are already covered by your fellow colleagues. So review of literature is done. Please remember that the sequence of these topics must be as it is. It is not negotiable. You cannot change the sequence of the abstract, keywords, introduction, literature review, etc. Then comes the study. The study mentions that why do you need this study. The objectives are written underneath 1, 2, 3, 4. You have to explain the rationale of every objective here, that why do you want to study this objective, like the need for the present study was felt in order to determine the English newspapers undue stress on particular category of news. So if I explain one objective, then it will say the type of news related to the politics, crime, business, sports, etc. project the focus and approach of the newspapers towards these states and UTs. So you have to expand upon or the explain upon all the objectives in this. Then comes the limitations. Every research has some kind of limitations. If you want to include that here, then you can do that. Don't be afraid of mentioning your limitations, because no research is complete and you are leaving something unexplored for the next researchers. So please do that. Then comes the heart of the research, the objectives. Objectives are of two types, broad objective and the specific objectives. Broad objective is just like your title of the research publication, whereas the specific objectives or the research questions are the individual objectives. What is the relative contribution of sources towards categories of news? What is the prominence treatment given to the categories? So on and so forth. So your objectives are done. Then comes your theoretical framework. This theoretical framework is the main problem why Indian research publications they fail to make their mark at the international level, because we have not been taught that there is something called the theoretical framework. Friends, we must understand that our research must be based on some kind of theory, some kind of model, or some kind of framework developed by some other researchers. We send international publications to the reputed journals, and they reject our publication simply because of the reason of the lack of theoretical framework. So never forget to mention it in your publication. Then comes your research design, or you can call it the research methodology. You will explain your research methodology supported by relevant evidences, like why do you want to conduct the content analysis of the survey research, as the case may be. And then comes the newspaper selection. This is the content analysis of the newspapers. So I have to tell about the newspapers, that why I have selected the three newspapers. So I will have to give the evidence or the facts which led to the selection of these newspapers, like circulation, readership, etc. Then comes the reference period. Reference period is the studies period, data collection period, like it was July, August and September 2007, and you have to justify this period, that why did you choose this. So you can say this period was chosen in view of the non-occurrence of any special event like election and major sports event, which would have adversely affected the sample's quality. You have to support your rationale. Sample selection, again, sample selection is the justification for selecting the sample from the newspapers, and it should be supported by the evidences. Then comes your unit of analysis. Unit of analysis is the smallest unit which you have to count. Like in this states and UT coverage news, unit of analysis is the news items having the state's name in it, or the news item regarding the states and the UTs. Then comes your operationalizing variables, or the terminology. If I use this word terminology, then I have to explain the definition of every term used in the objectives, like political news. This is the definition of the political news. Crime news, business economy. Most of the times the definitions are adopted from some other researchers, and we have to give the credit to that in the form of references. So these are the terminologies. Everything has been defined in this. Then hypothesis. Hypothesis, they are, as you know, the assumption regarding the outcome of the possible outcome of the research. So H1, H2, H3, H4 and so on and so forth. Every objective can have one hypothesis if it is supported by the evidence. So there are two type of hypothesis. Null hypothesis, which simply says that there is no significant mean difference in the total categories mean space. This is null hypothesis. We start with a negative statement. If it is so, in the final data analysis and the interpretation, then it is accepted, otherwise it is rejected. Then are the statistical methods. Statistical methods, they have to be explained here, that frequency, percentage, cost tabulation, chi-square, one-way ANOVA, etc., they are being employed. Then finding and discussions. Finding and discussion, and you have to explain the interpretation or the data analysis interpretation of all the objectives serial wise, so that the confusion can be avoided. Then comes the conclusion part. In the last, it is conclusion. Yeah, this is conclusion. You have to sum up your findings with some more explanation about the results, and you can compare the results with those results in the review of literature. Like you can say that these findings are similar to so and so researchers, and if they are different, then you have to give an justification or the possible answer to that why these are different. And always the conclusion para ends with the sentence that more studies of this kind are recommended, because research is an ever expanding process, so it should not stop at one point, and you should write this sentence at the end of the conclusion. Then comes the last part, or the second last, yes, it is note. You can write anything about the research, like you want to acknowledge the contribution of some of your fellow colleagues, or you want to acknowledge the financial support received from some research organization, or any other thing the researcher wants to write here, he can write that. And this is the last part, references they come in the last. Always follow some kind of reference style. The most popular and the widely accepted is APA, American Psychological Association. It has to be in the alphabetical form. This is the research publications. If you feel that you are getting the reference from some web page and the address or the URL of the web page is very long, then you can shorten this URL by going to the tinyurl.com, and then your 2-3 lines would be saved and your URL would be shortened up to this length only. And in the end, you will write your abstract while going carefully through the whole research publications, so that it gives a brief snapshot of the research. So friends, if we write our research publications this way, then you will see that the chances of getting the research publication accepted, they are enhanced. And always be careful about the number of words. Like this publication has 8,358 words. Most of the research publications, they limit themselves up to 8,000 only. So very less words, they are not good, and more than 8,000 words, they are not good either. They should be balanced. The research publication should be from 6,000 to 8,000 words. And I always recommend the researchers that they should copy this format before writing the research publication, and then they should start writing from here only, and then they should write the introduction here, so that these steps would be there in the file and you don't have to copy and paste them again and again. This way this whole family would be together, and whenever you write something and you have to improve that sentence afterwards, for example, literature review, I write if this is the sentence, then I have to give the reference of Arya 2007 in the last, so I will make it in the red, so that it will keep on blinking and tell to me that I have to write the reference. Otherwise, if it is in the black, then it may be hidden and I may miss writing the reference for it. So friends, these are some very small methods, small tips for writing effective publications. The last tip is that we must have the wide reference period and good number of observations. A content analysis with 100 and 150 observations will not be included in the international research publications. For that, our observations or item numbers should be at least around 2000, 3000 or more than that. So friends, this was writing good research publications. Follow this method and enjoy the benefit. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching.